Welcome back to another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. Hi folks, it's Falcon. Pokemon Arceus made a big splash when it launched in 2022. It's 3 years later, and we're getting another Legends entry with ZA. These games are where Game Freak and the Pokemon Company are actually willing to experiment a little bit, try out some new things, test some new ideas. They're either unable or unwilling to do with the main series. And, I mean, there's something to be said about the Pokemon formula. I don't think you can really argue with it. It works. People like it. But it's also nice to step out of that because it can feel stale after a while. It's not that it actually is stale. It's just that, I mean, you're playing Pokemon, fundamentally. Legends is a little bit different. The last game transported us back in time to the ancient version of the Sinnoh region from Diamond and Pearl, and while you'd think the obvious thing to do would repeat the same formula for ZA, take us back to a different region, this time we're still in modern day, or whatever modern day is in Pokemon land. This time the entire game is set within Pokemon's version of Paris called Lumiose City from Pokemon X and Y. It might just look like another Pokemon game, but there is an innovation here, and it's the combat. They've completely revised how battles work. They take the usual turn battle system and make it real-time with cooldowns, sort of a Xenobladification of Pokemon, and I'm all for it, because, I mean, I don't want to say I don't like the turn-based battles. I don't want to see them go away, personally, but I was tremendously entertained to the point where I'm willing to bet that for some, these will be considered the best battles in a Pokemon game. Now, you guys know me. I'm a turn-based JRPG gamer to the very core. But I gotta say, I like it. It's one of those changes that seems small at first, but after spending some time with it, this completely changes how you think about a standard Pokemon battle. I'm starting with this stuff because it's by far the most exciting part about Legends ZA. The rest of the game is more than solid enough, but the sweeping changes they made to how battling works legitimately is a huge thing for the series. There will be arguments that this revolutionizes the series. I have no doubts. And if we have two Pokemon series, Legends and Regular, that would be my ideal outcome, because I really do like the battles in this. I like my turn-based battles. I know, I'm old. Move past it. I know some people consider turn-based battles boring. If that's the case, this is the freaking Pokemon for you. You no longer have to worry about wasting turns on less immediately effective moves like status effect causing buffs and crap like that. Everything's on a cooldown. There's no PP to worry about, so you can use all the abilities you have available to you. But this time, simply spamming your most powerful moves isn't always the best option. Certain weaker attacks might come out quicker, so it might be smarter to use a simple tackle to take out a Pokemon before they can act. Sometimes certain moves will completely whiff if the positioning is off, like certain ground-based moves will just not hit flying Pokemon. But, I mean, you have a clear visual indication as to why that happens, right? I can't reach. It's me, your favorite ground Pokemon, and I can't reach. Speaking of reaching, it sure would be cool to reach 10 million subscribers. Since I started asking more, you guys have been subscribing more, but that doesn't change the shockingly low ratio of people who are subscribed versus people who watch. We do thank everybody who has subscribed and everybody who will subscribe. Press that button right now for it. It helps us make more stuff that hopefully you like. Hopefully helps you see more stuff you want to see. Back to the ever-important, biggest Christmas gift of the year that you're going to have to buy several times for nieces, nephews, cousins, whatever. That's, of course, after the copy that you buy for yourself. So there's just a lot more to consider tactically when you're playing this game. And the active battle system means you're generally moving a lot faster. You get into and resolve fights faster. Even trainer battles go by quicker. There's no longer the long intro cutscene from every random trainer you take on. In fact, they've made it so you can actually ambush enemy trainers by hiding from their view and attacking first, which gives you a bit of an advantage in the start of a battle. Like I said, I love me the turn-based battles, but what's there not to like here? It's all great, it all works really well, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. If we were just grading on the battle system subjectively, with discussion, this could potentially be the best Pokemon game yet, depending on taste, of course, but there is more to Legends ZA than just the fights. Unfortunately, the rest of the game, it's not quite as innovative or exciting. The graphics are a lot better this time. This is the first Pokemon game built with the Switch 2 in mind, and it's not some graphical powerhouse. It's a Pokemon game, but it looks way better and runs much smoother than Scarlet and Violet when it came out. I know that's not saying much, but with the Pokemon Company, you really have to take what you can get. I do not understand how Scarlet and Violet worked at that level on the Nintendo Switch, in which both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom performed better. I just don't get it. Doesn't matter, though. This game runs consistently with a good frame rate on Switch 2, and the visuals look downright comfy at times. The game, it's not technically stunning in any way, but the old world city vibes they managed to capture here are just, they're great. They are very effective. It's one of those locations you want to explore and just stop in, take in the sights, sightsee, take the long road, take the scenic route, take my wife, please. There is a bit of a problem in that there isn't a hell of a lot to see. As a central location, Lumiosa City, it's fine, but it's literally the only place in the game. You spend the entire game in this one actually kind of small city, and it's densely packed with simple activities like obstacle courses and side quests. It takes a few hours to see everything because your brain is like, I want to see everything. It's pretty here. It's cool here. Let's explore. Takes a couple hours. Well, more than a couple, but not more than a few. And the game is a lot longer than that. Honestly, all they really had to do was include some countryside outside the city. It wouldn't have needed to be as big as the city itself. If they had just given us something else to look at and catch Pokemon in, that would have helped a lot. Just broke it up, particularly the music, which it's great. It's good music all around. It's just there is one main city theme. You're in one main city the whole game, and that theme, I don't care how good it is. And although it's good, it's not the best theme you've ever heard, but even if it was, you are hearing that theme a lot, at least until night falls. Then you get a different, depending on, again, taste, slightly less grating theme. The day and night cycle actually plays a kind of important role in ZA because it's at night where the battle zones open. They're sort of the game's version of Pokemon gyms, except for being their own unique dungeons. They're just chunks of the city rezoned at night to be full of Pokemon trainers. The implementation is a little disappointing, but the combat keeps things really fun and engaging, even if all you're really doing is fighting random trainers in order to get a number to fill up. One half of the game is dedicated to rising up in the ranks of ZA Royale, where you start at the Z rank and work your way up to the A rank. Wow, they did it. They said the title. So to get to A rank, you beat up trainers, you earn tickets. They eventually let you take on a qualifying trainer. That bumps up your rank to the next level. It's a fun idea, but it's a little repetitive because it's the alphabet. It's not like, oh, I am in E class. I need to get up to A and maybe to S. No, you're at Z class. Your goal is A class. That's, correct me if I'm wrong, 26 freaking ranks. And it really, really rarely actually changes. The amount of tickets you have goes up, but it's a repetitive gameplay loop. The other main part of the story involves dealing with Mega Evolutions, which is another gameplay mechanic they have revised. Certain Pokemon get a Mega Evolution form. They can take it on temporarily. That gives them a dynamic boost in power. And depending on the fight, they're likely required for progression. It's basically the game's version of Crystal forms from Scarlet and Violet, but better implemented. For one thing, they're not just the same Pokemon with a dumb crystal on their head. That is an automatic improvement. And yes, I know that Mega Evolutions were from X and Y. Just wanted to lightly complain about the Terrastall stuff. Can you blame me? No, you cannot. So at night, you're fighting other trainers, and during the day, you hunt for Pokemon in the wild zones that have popped up around the city. These are dedicated Pokemon catching spots, and while I like the idea, they're just too small to have a lot of fun with. You get less than a city block to work with. On like a small construction site or a park, the Pokemon are pretty densely packed together, and it makes catching these guys not all that much fun. In Arceus, Pokemon catching was what the game was all about. They gave you plenty of room to do it, but here, not so much. You really have barely any literal space to do it. I do like the design. I like that they're all different. I like that they're not just empty tracts of nothing like certain other Pokemon games have had. But I feel there is a better middle ground between massive flat empty field and tiny congested city street. Certainly, you've been to a Kingston or an Albany. There is a whole lot of variation in traversal in those areas. Why not here? There's really just barely any wild zones to explore at first, too. More do start popping up with higher level Pokemon, but you can always clear them out so fast, they rarely ever make that much of an impression. Sort of like the city itself. It's got the sort of lo-fi PlayStation 2 era charm to it, but because it's the whole game, it feels pretty samey after not a long period of time. Having at least a little bit of countryside outside of the city would have done wonders to make ZA feel less claustrophobic. You'd have just a free zone, basically. Different music, different sights. Breaks it up. Doesn't have to be big, but enough of my griping. It's not really something you can expand on a whole lot. It'd just be nice for there to be a little more open space. Overall, I have to say I think the presentation is quite decent, and at this point, that is high praise for a Pokemon game. But even so, it feels kind of cheap in places. Like there's points where they sprung for fully animated cutscenes with subtitles swapped out for the usual text boxes. But while the characters are speaking in real time, no voices come out of the mouths. The lack of voice acting doesn't feel out of place when the game's presentation is the usual old school abstraction dialogue boxes. It doesn't feel that weird when there's no voice acting, when there's a dialogue box, but when there's a Netflix looking ass subtitle, feels weird. Especially when they're moving their mouth. I don't know. It stands out. This is Pokemon we're talking about here. It's one of the biggest game franchises in the world. Easily one of the most successful long-running franchises. Could they really not spring for a few voice lines in these parts? Even the cheapest of cheap RPGs has partial voice acting now, so I don't know what their excuse is. I understand that the idea of bringing in voice acting is still a little controversial with certain people, but it really stands out because it plays up dialogue in ways that previous games in the series just don't. I mean, story is average boilerplate Pokemon stuff. The city is small, mostly looks the same. There's not a lot to it. The graphics, big step up from how rough Scarlet and Violet looked on the original Switch. But it's not going to blow anybody away. The deciding factor here is the battle system. And the vibes. I guess the vibes are charming. Not going to claim that they're not. Cast of characters and charming. Story does kind of get nuts by the time of the conclusion, but the best thing is just that damn excellent combat. It's fast, it's fun, keeps the game moving along. It's easily the fastest, breeziest Pokemon game yet, and there's stuff in it that I think isn't great. Not bad, it's fine, I guess the stuff that I'm talking about. Mediocre. I have to say the lack of wasted time really does do wonders for the game. Dialogue scenes are quick, quests don't go on forever, the opening tutorial is thankfully over pretty quickly. Everything about this game is pretty quick, even the parts that encourage grinding. The whole research track ported over from the last Legends game, it feels quicker and also less essential. Toss that in with the combat alterations that just are excellent. It's probably the most pure and simple fun I've had with a Pokemon game in a while. Has its flaws. Apparently you cannot make a new Pokemon game without including some glaring flaws, but the good outweighs the bad, and not by a little. I would love to get the next big, truly next-gen Pokemon game with the budget that a multi-billion-dollar franchise like this deserves, but knowing the Pokemon Company, I don't think that's going to happen. Could they go Rockstar on us? Yes, they have the money, but they are also quite miserly with it, which I guess is fine. It's definitely a recipe for success in the long haul. Games like ZA are frustrating. It's clear they are capable of more. It gets tantalizingly close to being like an ideal refresh on Pokemon, a potential like standard for a second series, and it still very well could be that. But man, the rush production cycle and the limited budget just get in the way. I'm not going to say to you, don't buy this game. I am probably going to say it's a general recommendation here. I would definitely recommend it to new, old, and lapsed fans alike because the improvements on the battle system are really good. I think it is worth experiencing. I had a hell of a fun time with it. I guess kind of the problem I have with Pokemon is also, in some ways, what gives it its longevity. It is a simple series. It doesn't set out to do a whole hell of a lot, and it accomplishes it. Arguably, with a lot of series, creating just new versions is enough, but I think the Pokemon Company does understand that some variety is on order from the Pokemon loyal even. Otherwise, why do this? Why give us such a interesting take on a Pokemon battle? In some ways, the game is worse than Arceus. does not have the wow factor. But as a whole, I would say it's as good. Maybe for different reasons, but I think worth it. My main gripe is this could have been an exceptional Pokemon game. That said, I'm happy we at least got a good Pokemon game. What do you think, though? Leave us a comment. Let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. We'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.